I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on with today's player. And I hate to say that, like they just so different. But the coaching, I believe, the 7-on-7, everybody wants to win. These kids get pampered along the way, and these kids in turn they grow up to be grown men, and you're just used to having your butt kissed, having all coaches your entire life kiss your butt, and then you get a hard-nosed coach like Eric Bieniemy, and they like, hey, Coach Rivera, he kind of mean to us. I don't like this. What's your take on just like why would Ron Rivera say that publicly? Is it to admonish his players, or is it to tell Bieniemy, pull back a little bit?
Well, first of all, Ron Rivera hired him, so he knew what he was bringing to the organization in the offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy. And there has been discussions of how Eric Bieniemy coaches his players and his offense. Obviously, we heard some things come out with Deshaun McCoy and how he talks to guys and how he coaches and his approach. And I agree with you 100%. When I came into the league, my first head coach was Bill Cowher, and he was as tough as a head coach on you from a football standpoint because he wanted to get nothing but the best out of you for the team. And like you understood that the way he went about his job because he went about it in a manner that you knew from a personal standpoint from every player that lined up on that team in all three phases, offensive, defensive, and special teams, that he was actually like teaching you the game of football. And if it came off to you rather harsh, then you had to deal with it. And you loved that in him because you knew like there was no drop off. When the whistle blew and we were out of practice, man, he was the nicest man that you had ever met in your life. But on the football field, as far as him coaching and wanting to get the best out of you for the team and you personally to make the team better, you understood that. And that is what has gone away from the younger generation as players. With everything that has happened, we've been fighting for these guys to get paid. Now they get NIL deals and they're making substantial amounts of money in college now before they even get to the pros. So they are getting their ass kissed in college and going to the pros. They think it's going to be sweet. So now you run into a coach like Eric Bieniemy, and now he's hard nosed and he's getting on you about the job that you're supposed to be doing and perfecting your craft. And now the coaches are going to the head coach, yo, man, what's going on with Eric Bieniemy? Well, you know what? Eric Bieniemy is proven as an offensive coordinator. Look at what he has done in Kansas City. Everybody says, oh, this Patrick Mahomes and this Andy Reid. No, this man was actually the play caller for this offense. I mean, let's give this man the respect that he deserves as an offensive coordinator. But I think that he will, offensively for Washington, they will turn it around, and he will continue to be him. Like he said, I'm not going to change. I'm going to coach guys hard to let them realize and recognize who they are as players to make this offensive team better. I'm not here to be nobody's friend. I'm here to do a job. And the young guys have a problem with it. I love it because when you go to practice every day as a player and you know that the coach, he doesn't have an off switch when he's on the football field coaching, you have to bring your best to practice every day. Or otherwise, he's going to talk to you in front of the team and let everybody know that you are not doing your job to the fullest of your ability. And that is what these young players are missing these days in college going to the professional level, because now it's just, you know what I mean? You come into the league, it's all right, I'm trying to get to the bag, I'm trying to play a few years, whatever. And that is what the new generation is. But for what Eric Bieniemy is doing as the offensive coordinator in Washington, and the players have a problem with it, I love it because he's pushing them, and it makes them uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable as a player if you want to continue to get better.
You know what I don't like, Plex, is the fact that they went to Ron Rivera. Like, really, bruh? You gonna go to Ron Rivera? If you feel this way, why can't you go to Bieniemy yourself? Like, be a man. We all men here. Yeah, he's the coach. Be a man and go handle it yourself. Why do you go to the head coach? Because he's coaching me too hard. He's yelling at me.
No, man.
Like, we come from an era when coaches, all they did was yell at you. So we were used to that. And I get today's player, they're not used to that. But we are all men. You should not have to go to the head coach. You should go straight to Bieniemy's office. And the same thing that you said to Coach Ron Rivera, you should say to Bieniemy, I don't respond well to all the yelling or whatever it may be that he's doing that they don't like.
Right.
Take that up with the man that's doing it instead of going to somebody else. That's the only thing that bothers me. Today's player is different. You can't coach them the same way we got coached. I get that. They're not used to that. But you do not and you should not go behind his back and tell the head coach, but you should take that up with him. But I don't know what Ron Rivera gets out of saying this publicly. Is he trying to shame his players and say toughen up? Because Ron Rivera comes from that era of he got coached hard. Right. I'm sure he coaches hard. Doesn't seem like he's much of a yeller, but I'm sure he got it coming up. Yeah, that's just what we got.
Yeah, with that being said, I don't think Ron Rivera would have hired Eric Bieniemy if he didn't know this about him. Look at the two different cultures of where he was and where he's at now. In Kansas City, you didn't hear not one single player saying that Eric Bieniemy was yelling or screaming or coaching them too hard in Kansas City. But look at what they've accomplished. Now you go to Washington, where the coach is in complete disarray of an organization trying to put a product on the football field that can compete on Sundays. And now look at what these players are saying. That is the first red flag to me.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like is if you're part of that offensive unit in Washington and the lack of success that you've had as an offense, because the defense has been pretty solid in Washington. Yep. The lack of success that you've had as an offense, that you really have the nerve to go complain to the head coach because you're being coached too hard or he's yelling too much. I don't even want those guys on my team because you're showing me that you're not trying to push yourself past a certain limit or you can't take it. So I don't know who these players are. Are they your main players on the team? You really rely on them. It's really nothing you can do. But I'm with you, Ron. They need that. That offense needs that tough love, that kicking and you know what to get going. But to complain about it, I'm like, wow. I wish I knew who the players were. Ron Rivera does. And those players better be really good because they won't be in Washington long. They won't be.
Nobody will be in Washington long after this season.
Well, if they don't win, obviously it's going to be a whole new regime. And that's why you need to change the entire culture. And if it starts with coaching them hard, then it starts with coaching them hard. Deal with it.
It's unfortunate that they put that Eric Bieniemy is in this situation that he's in because I think moving forward, Washington knows that they're our worst team in the division. And Kansas City will do well. They will play well, obviously because of Patrick Mahomes as being the best player in football. And Eric Bieniemy takes a job where Daniel Snyder's fired. Josh Harris has gone on the record to say, there will be changes in Washington. And they're not going to win this year just because of the division that they're in. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to be the worst team in the division, and everybody's going to be saying the same thing. What did I tell you about Eric Bieniemy? Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid made him, and he's going to be put in a tough position after this year if they don't win with Josh Harris and the new ownership wanting to move on and forward from Ron Rivera. Once that happens, Eric Bieniemy will be out of a job. And it's just an unfortunate situation for him moving forward. He knows it, and I think everybody knows it, that Washington is not a good football team.
Hey, Eric
And they won't
Bieniemy
be
is
this year.
betting on himself. And
I
at
know
this
he-
point,
I
at
know
this
he
point,
is.
at this point, he hasn't been given an opportunity, so he has no other choice but to bet on himself. Wish him the best, but y'all boys in Washington, y'all got to shape up.